in cars. Some of you just finished something. So this definitely shows us that we are also a network that's on the ground running. Um, so thank you so much for being able to be with us. Each one of us is very, very important, and your presence is as well. As you know, today we launch Talitha Kum's 2024 annual report. And we do this on the eve of the World Day Against Human Trafficking in Persons, which the world recognizes tomorrow. So, on the eve of this World Day, we take a moment together with Talitha Kum, as Talitha Kum, to acknowledge what all of you, what all of those who participate in Talitha Kum's mission were able to accomplish in 2024. And as we do this, we of course always bear in our hearts and in our minds those whom we have accompanied, those whom we are accompanying. And we pray that all those who are in bondage at this moment may one day find freedom. So before going any further, as you see, we have these graphics on our screen. So we ask you at this time to look for the interpretation icon at the bottom of your screens. It'll look like a world, and choose the language that you would like to hear the translation in today. So please go ahead and do that. Have no worries if you choose a language. If that language is being spoken, you will hear the original sound. So I hope you all have found your language, and now we can see each other again. What a beautiful mosaic. Today with us, we do have members of the executive board of the UISG. And we'll be hearing during the presentation from Sister Pat Murray, the Executive Secretary, and Sister Mary John, the Assistant. We'll also be hearing from Sister Abby Avellino, all of us very familiar with Abby, the International Coordinator for Talitha Kum. And today we're also joined with her close collaborators, the regional leaders who have been working hard to prepare this report. So we have Sister Yvonne from Africa, Sister Adina representing Europe, Sister Annette representing Oceania, Sister Carmen representing Latin America, Sister Isabel representing North America, and Sister Paula from Asia. During our time together today, we'll also be hearing from Professor Sylvia Scarpa from John Cabot University, and Professor Scarpa will provide some feedback on the report from the perspective of someone outside of the organization. And we'll also be hearing from Sister Gracie from India today. She received the Sisters Anti-Trafficking Award this year, so we'll be able to hear from her as well. And as you know, Talitha Kum has been really, really hard working to recruit and train youth ambassadors. And for the first time in 2024, youth ambassadors participated in the General Assembly. So Claudia, one of our youth leaders from Latin America, will also be speaking with us today. After Claudia, we'll hear from Pauline, a survivor. One of the movements forward in 2024 was the very, very close inclusion also of survivors in the work of Talitha Kum, and there were survivor representatives also at the General Assembly. So we will welcome Pauline a little later, and we'll be able to hear from her. Following these, we'll hopefully be able to have some questions and answers. So what I'd like to ask you to do so we can facilitate as many of those questions and answers as possible, I invite you to use the chat, insert your question in the chat as we go through the program. And if you would like to direct your question to a specific person, please indicate that as well. So hopefully after these introductions, I won't have to intervene that often. We'd like to move as informally as possible from one to another. I'll intervene as needed. And this way we'll be able to have more space for the speakers and being able to answer some of your questions. So once more, welcome to all of you joining us today for the presentation of Talitha Kum's 2024 annual report. And we begin with a prayer offered by Sister Annette, a regional coordinator for Talitha Kum Oceania. Over to you, Annette. Thank you.
So today we stop to remember and to savor. In the past 12 months, Talitha Kum members across the planet have again listened carefully and responded to the desperate cries of those trafficked. It is a moment to pause, remember, and to give thanks for God's grace moving our hearts and minds to action. The seeds of God's compassion and justice have once again scattered across the planet and found new ground and new harvests. So just for a moment, you might like to just recall a person, a story, an action, something that you were personally engaged in the last 12 months, something that has touched you. And just to recall that and to hold that situation before we pray together. So we're going to pray this prayer together, but we'll be muted, but you can pray it out loud wherever you are. So let us gather our grateful hearts and pray. God of abundance, God of life, our hearts sing songs of praise and gratitude for the gifts of compassion and hope that have filled our hearts, leading us to action. We give thanks that many people have greater life and freedom because of the work we do, and pray that the face and voices of survivors always stirs our hearts to action. We give thanks for the strength and growth of our global network and the gift of having each other to walk hand in hand in this ministry. We thank you, God of abundance and life, and pray that we may always have open and generous hearts. We ask that St. Josephine Bakita pray with us this day. Amen.
Thank you so much, Sister Annette, for having provided this climate of prayer for us. And we now invite Sister Pat. Sister Pat, over to you.
Thank you very much, Bernadette, and it's a great joy for me to be with you. Many of you I know, and maybe some of you don't know me. My name is Sister Pat Murray, and I'm currently the Executive Secretary of the International Union of Superiors General. This is a very important day for me because this is actually the last official event that I will participate in as part of my role, because I'm finishing my mandate at UISG. I have been here for 11 and a half years. And in that time, now I've seen the growth of Talitha Kum. But actually, I was there almost at the beginning, because I came to Rome first in 1998, just as Sister Leah Ackerman spoke here publicly at a meeting on anti-trafficking. She was part of Solbody in Germany, and she addressed the justice and peace community here in Rome. And from that one talk, Talitha Kum was born not at that moment, but the first initiatives to engage in anti-trafficking at the level of religious congregations was, in a sense, initiated. So it shows you the importance of the work of one person and one maybe tiny action or tiny seed. So when I look out on all of you today, from different parts of the world, different levels of engagement in anti-trafficking, some action, some in advocacy, some in prayer, some in rescuing, some in rehabilitating, some in awareness raising. No matter who you are, know that what you're doing is incredibly important. I mean, Scripture tells us to fan into flame seeds of love and justice. And that's what you and I do whenever we do something on behalf and with those who are trafficked. Because in a way, Pope Francis talked about the scourge on the body of the human race, and that each of us has a part to play, in a sense, in healing and restoring a wounded body, a wounded person. But in another way, the woundedness that we see are also reflections of the wounds that are inside in each of us. You know, we're wounded healers. You know, others have suffered in a particular way because of the desperate crime of human trafficking. But we know that that crime is part of our human race and how we abuse persons and indeed abuse the beautiful planet that's been given to us. So we know that human trafficking is a pervasive global issue. No matter where you're attending, where you're coming from, human trafficking is there. They say that over 50 million people experience forced labor or forced marriage at any given time. And we know the situation is particularly alarming for women and children. And it's growing. A large percentage of those who are trafficked, the report tells us very clearly, are trafficked for sexual exploitation. But there's a notable increase in child trafficking, and again, for purposes of sexual exploitation. And I think we have to admit that in some way, COVID-19, the pandemic, exacerbated the situation. And in a sense, particularly put our focus on online abuse in so many ways. So in a way, we're called to pay attention, to reflect on what's happening to humankind, particularly to those most vulnerable. And I think the 2024 report captures that from different parts of the world, the scenario, the responses, the actions, the care and the compassion and the outreach. And also I think it shows that young people, through the youth ambassadors, are taking hold of this problem. And they will bring creative ways of raising awareness and of promoting actions among their peers. So on behalf of the Executive Board of UISG, and on my own behalf as I finish, I want to pay tribute to Sister Abby Avellino, to also all those who have served as coordinators at international level, to the members of the international coordination team, but also to each of you in your place, in your context, in your country, who are doing what you can, so that together as the Talitha Kum family, we are responding to the call of the church, to the call of humanity, to do something creative and prophetic to heal the wounds of humanity. So my gratitude to each one of you. I would ask you to make the report widely known, to spread it among your congregations, your friends, your connections, your networks, so that, in a sense, we're asking people to join, to become part of this larger initiative, so that good may prevail over evil. God bless you, and thank you for all your efforts.
Thank you so, so much, Sister Pat, for your words. And I speak on behalf of so many, and so many that we probably don't even know, who are grateful for your service to UISG over these years, and Talitha Kum under your leadership too has become what it is. So please know that we carry you in our hearts and prayers as you conclude your service next month. And we continue now with the presentation of the annual report. And Sister Abby Evelina, will you do us that honor, please?
Yes, thank you so much, Sister Bernadette. Of course, Sister Pat, this is not the end, but of course, we journey together. Again, really thank you so much on behalf of Talitha Kum members, from the beginning of Talitha Kum. Okay, not even Talitha Kum yet, but you were there. So thank you so much for this initiative. Thank you. So it's an honor, actually. I think many of you are familiar of our network, especially, and I'd like to greet all of you. For those who joining from Latin America's good morning and good afternoon for many of us, and for those people joining from Asia and of course Oceania, good evening. So dear sisters, our partners, our friends in mission, thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor, as Sister Bernadette shared, that this is to present to you the 2024 Talitha Kum annual report. This is our annual report, and we would like to share to the bigger communities worldwide. This is a summary of our collective journey, the highlighting not only the numbers that reflect our growth, but also the human stories. That's what Sister Pat mentioned. Of course, also the challenges and the hope that animate our mission. So throughout 2024, we witnessed both remarkable growth and also the emerging challenges. So today, I will share with you the key insights from our global outreach, both the data and the stories behind the data, and explore what they mean for our shared mission. I really would like to ask Emma to show our figures in order just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. The numbers, there's behind these figures or numbers, there's a story behind it. So let me begin with the heart of our work, supporting victims and survivors of human trafficking. In 2024, Talitha Kum networks accompanied and assisted to 46,000, more than 46,000 victims and survivors. That means 19% increase compared last year. So the most significant increase was observed in Asia and America, with 24% increase in providing shelters, trauma healing, legal assistance, and skills trainings. These numbers represent real lives, as what Sister Pat mentioned, people who have suffered exploitation and found a path to healing and restoration to the compassionate presence of Talitha Kum sisters worldwide and our collaborators. This growth reflects not only the rising need, but also the deep trust communities place in Talitha Kum as a faith-based network grounded in hope. And yet, we saw also 26 decrease in the access to justice services, which means the under prosecution across the network. This decline was particularly noticeable in Europe and Africa, that raising concerns about the sustainability of legal support mechanism in these regions. So at the same time, there's a contract in Asia that showed encouraging signs where strategic partnership in legal advocacy have caused positive concerns or outcomes. So this disparity highlights the need for action. We must replicate and expand successful approaches. So moving forward, this means enhancing legal support and investing capacity building in some regions. In this year, 2024, we also focus on the women, girls, and children. For the first time, we gathered separate data on women, girls, and children. It's with, of course, with the feedback of our network drastically. This is an important step toward more inclusive and survivor-focused support. As you see on the screen, we reached 222,500 women and girls and 204,044 children, boys and girls, through prevention and awareness raising. And at the same time, we also reached to 31,157 women and girls received direct support for survivors' assistance. These clarities allow us to tailor our programs to the specific vulnerabilities faced by women, girls, and children, groups that are greatly affected by trafficking and exploitation. It also highlights the importance of gender and age-appropriate approaches in the prevention, protection, and healing accompaniment. And I would like to continue for this numbers presentation on the prevention and networking, which is also prevention, continue to be a strong point of our mission. This year, or in 2024, our prevention programs reached 690,356 people through education, workshops, training, empowerment programs, and online initiatives, with an increase of 11% from last year. And major milestone was launched and ongoing success of the Walking in Dignity app, and many people already reach out to this application. Since we launched it in 2024, in January 2024, more than 2,000 users have registered, primarily young adults. At the end of 2024, together we have contributed over 200,000 tokens. What that means is we walk more than 150,000 kilometers. So to raise awareness and support the survivor-led initiatives. This is what is the work of this Walking Up in the Dignity. So these figures, this 150,000 kilometers, it feels like when I computed it, that's covered 21 flights from Rome to New York. So that means really that carbon footprints of 4.5 hectares of forests. So that means this initiative demonstrates how digital engagement can drive real-world impact, not only by preventing and protecting individuals, but also contributing to the preservation of the planet. So in networking efforts of Talitha Kum worldwide, joining local stakeholders, paid groups, and also partners engaged 123,493 individuals, really marking 36% increase compared last year. This is a strong visible from Americas, Asia, Middle East, and Africa regions, where grassroots mobilization and interfaith collaboration have taken root deeply. So this growth affirms the Talitha Kum's model to networking, where a change starts at the grassroots level. Of course, that's who we are, as our identity, being grassroots oriented, and also strong relationship built in the foundation for lasting impact. In the area of advocacy, as you see, there were 78,473 people that reached to this initiative. from local campaigns to global platforms. So Talitha Kum voice was present, grounded in realities of survivors and experiences of our communities. We strengthened our visibility, especially in influence in policy-making spaces across Americas, Europe, Oceania, and Africa. Throughout these efforts, we remain committed to uplifting survivor leadership and, of course, honoring the lived experience of those most affected. Advocacy isn't just about challenging those in power. It's about ensuring that the voices once silenced are finally heard. Later, I think we will hear from Pauline, whose testimony reflects the strength and leadership of survivors. So overall impact, we reached total to 939,185 people globally. That means 25 overall increase from last year. This remarkable growth, prevention driven by expanded prevention programs, strong networks, deepened survivor support, and more impactful advocacy. Today, our global presence includes 64 networks across 108 countries, with this growth in Africa predominantly, and of course, a recent expansion into Pacifics, thanks to Colleen and of course, Annette. Now they are present in 6 Pacific Islands countries. So every number in this report tells a story of courage, dedication, collaboration, and transformation. The stories of transformation, like I said, behind each number, there is a person. I'd like to share a story of pain, and most importantly, a story of resilience and hope. Let me briefly share a story of our network in East Africa. A young woman named Grace was rescued from a forced labor situation. Through the accompaniment of our sisters, she's not only received shelter, counseling, but now she runs a small-scale business and empowering other women. A story like Grace reminds us we are not just rescuing lives, we are nurturing leaders. So what does this all mean for moving forward? First, we must continue to invest in survivor care, especially in long-term accompaniment. Second, we need to strengthen access to justice by building on what's already working and improving legal support for those seeking help. Third, we will strengthen data collection as you know, every year we keep improving our data collection, but this time with specific details and qualitative data to guide action that are based on our evidence and tailored each context. And fourth, we will deepen our advocacy impact, especially at the national levels and regional levels, that ensuring survivors' holistic approach has remained vital in our work. And finally, we will continue to grow as community of hope and action, expanding partnerships, nurturing youth leadership, and working with those at risk population. And I would like to conclude that this 2024 annual report, shows the impact of working together. Without you, our sisters and brothers, we cannot do this. We need to work together, and this is the strength of our faith-based mission, and there's resilience and hope of survivors. Each person reached, its life transformed, its policy influenced, is a seed of hope and liberation. Again, on behalf of Talitha Kum, I thank each of you for your dedication, for every sister, of course to GISG, especially to Sister Pat Murray, who has been really a backbone of Talitha Kum Network through these years. Thank you. Sister Mary John as well, and to you, all partners, to our partner survivors, to young ambassadors, every person who has joined hands with Talitha Kum in this sacred work. Together, we walk in dignity, solidarity, and hope. Thank you so much. And we continue for this conversation and look forward if you have some clarity. And of course, my colleague, TKICC members are here, my team. So we would like to really hear from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sister Abby, for presenting some highlights from the 2024 annual report. I'm sure all of you are wondering when you will be able to access it. So tomorrow, specifically for the World Day Against Human Trafficking in Persons, the English language edition will be available online, and then other language editions will follow. And I'm so happy that you reminded us that, as Sister Pat said, all of the figures that we see do represent people who are caught in human trafficking, but this report also helps us see that there are others, just as with human faces and everything, that are accompanying those people. And this report helps us see that as well. So now we're going to welcome our guest speaker, Professor Sylvia Scarpa. We invite you to provide us with some insight as someone from the outside regarding the report and other aspects of Talitha Kum. Please, over to you, Professor Scarpa.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Sister Bernadette. Thanks also to Sister Abby Avellino for the invitation, to Sister Patricia Murray that I already met at other meetings in the past. It's true that I'm not a member of Talitha Kum, but I consider myself a friend of Talitha Kum. And I hope that you see me as a friend, let's say, providing a bit of help or support if possible from outside, but from very close. To the members of the network as well. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all thank you all for being here. It's a great pleasure for me, as far as I understand, also to have had the chance to read the report before the others. And so I feel privileged in this respect to be here to provide a bit of a feedback on the important work that all the members of the network have been doing in this past year. The report is actually a joy to read, I have to say. It's perfectly and diligently assembled. I found really very interesting to see the photos of all the members from all over the world, the diversity, but also, as you always say, the unity that you see that exists within the network. It's clearly visible from, the images that you have selected for assembling this beautiful report. The work that you do is evident also in the text. So it's not only the photos, it's not only, the way in which it was assembled, but also the text that you have added to the report that shows the compassion that you all actually have put in the work that you do as Talitha Kum members for healing, as it was also stated before by Sister Patricia, all those who are marginalized and trafficked and are really at the corners, and remain outside of our societies. And this is actually pouring into every page of the report, in my view, and it tells us a beautiful story in a time in which, unfortunately, as we all know, it seems that there's an epochal crisis in terms of hope, in terms of help towards the others. Showing compassion seems to have kind of faded away. We see that many political leaders are fading away from compassion in their actions, and we see instead that the main motive in our world has become, interest and, providing ourselves and closing doors and, keeping safe from others without actually having an understanding that it's instead by creating bridges and by healing the others and walking together as you all do, that there could be the solution to all the crises that unfortunately we see today. I have to say that I was blessed to get to know Talitha Kum in 2021, so it's already 5 years, more or less, that I know the network. And together with the coordinator at that time, Sister Gabriella Bottani, as well as other experts, we somehow supported the network in the release of the first international advocacy document that was produced by Talitha Kum, and that is called the Call to Action. At that time, Talitha Kum gathered more than 3,000 Catholic sisters, friends, and allies working worldwide in nearly 90 countries with victims and survivors of human trafficking. In 2020, which is actually the year before the release of the Call to Action, which also included some data, the organizations that are part of Talitha Kum, the Talitha Kum network, had helped and supported 15,827 survivors. I'm providing these few data to show to you also what was stated before by Sister Abby. So somehow the huge growth also in a few years. So it's not so much time, 2020 or 2021, it's only a few years ago. And what we see with this new report, the 2024 report, actually shows this staggering growth of the network, which is now present in 108 countries with more than 6,000 members and collaborators worldwide, and with direct support activities with 46,863 victims and survivors. So it's more than 3 times the datum that we had in 2021, which was, as I said, approximately 15,000. So you see 3 times more. So this actually is something important at the time in which it's difficult to show growth, and it's difficult to also provide data on what it is exactly that organizations are doing directly with victims. Having such clear data in your report is, in my view, really very important. It is also for me a joy to see that this 2024 report was released on the year of the celebration of the 15th anniversary of the establishment of the network of Talitha Kum. So, as you are all aware of, the peculiarity and the strength of the network is that it's a bottom-up and grassroots engagement network, and based on a person and community centered approach. And this actually guarantees proximity to the victims of trafficking and survivors, as well as to families and to the communities in which the nuns and all the other members are actually working. If you look at that, still 15 years, it's not so much. Somehow we may say that Talitha Kum is a teenager. It's a teenager network. And actually, if I think about, many other NGOs or also international organizations that are working in the field, many of them are actually far more aged in a way, or mature, we could say, in terms of age in respect of Talitha Kum. And not always, I have to say, they may show such successful results and successful data in terms of the activities and actions that they have been conducting in the last few years. So for this reason as well, I think that you all should be proud of the road actually that you have been working on together for the past 15 years or even more. If you look at what Sister Patricia was saying, somehow the origins are back in 1998, but the creation of the network itself is more recent. This tells to us that the path has been very productive and very successful. In this presentation, I also would like to focus on some of the important areas that have been selected and that constitute actually the specific sections in which the report has been subdivided. Obviously in a spirit of solidarity with all the members of the network, and also in the hope that the feedback and comments that I will provide will help the discussion on the way forward. The main issues, let's say, that I selected from the report are, first of all, the issue of the definition adopted by the report, the definition obviously of human trafficking, the issue of the collection of data, the selected focus areas, the best practices identified, and then finally the way forward. Let's start with the first area, which is the issue of the definition. The report somehow does not include the definition of trafficking that is working definition used by Talitha Kum, but it refers and it contains a link. So if you click on the report, you are redirected to the website of Talitha Kum, where you can find the working definition. This definition, I am sure that you're all very much familiar with, says that human trafficking is the process by which people are coerced or lured by false prospects, recruited, relocated, and forced to work and live in exploitative or abusive conditions. Victims of trafficking may be forced into sexual exploitation, child and forced marriages, or labor exploitation in, for example, domestic, agricultural, hospitality, mining, and manufacturing sectors. Exploitation means a restriction of personal freedom and exertion of power over a person through actual or threatened violence or punishment. Human trafficking robs individuals of their dignity, agency over their own lives, and the right to live safely and freely. This definition, as well as the existence of multiple forms of exploitation, there's a list which is included online, as well as the indicators to identify victims, and also a reference to the structural vulnerabilities that are very important in helping actually the all of you who would like actually to help and support and identify victims are also identified on the website of Talitha Kum. This definition is based, as we all know, on the Palermo Protocol definition, which is the key leading international document in the area that provides us with a definition of human trafficking. Still, as we all know, this definition has been widely criticized by scholars and practitioners alike, and it has probably failed, especially if we look at the issue of access to justice. Which is an area in which, unfortunately, the difficulty of demonstrating all the various elements that are included in the Palermo Protocol definition, unfortunately, has showed the difficulty of applying that international framework. In this respect, I think that the choice actually made by Talitha Kum, which is somehow, to avoid the focus on the different elements and instead focus on exploitation, on the complexity of this process, but also on the deprivation of dignity, agency, and the right to live safely and freely, helps very much as a working definition in allowing the members of the network to properly identify victims and survivors. However, given that the report also presents a datum of 26% overall decrease in access to justice services, I think it would be important to see in the future if a reflection by the members of the network could be done on whether the national legal frameworks on human trafficking, so the laws that states have in place, not only in the area of trafficking, so primarily these ones, but also other laws such as the ones in the areas of immigration, but also prostitution or public health or security, might actually favor or hinder the legal process for the liberation, healing, and support of victims and survivors that the members of Talitha Kum actually want to help and support. And so here I see this kind of a disconnect between the legal processes for the recognition of victims and the social processes, which means that help by Talitha Kum members, organizations, through this kind of a social path and help might be available to victims. Not always then this might correspond to help provided by governments from all over the world. Second issue, the report, so the issue of data and statistics. The report is, in my view, rich in data and statistics that are actually collected from all the regions in which the members of Talitha Kum are active. The datum that I was mentioning already before, and that also Sister Abby was mentioning, of 46,863 victims and survivors of human trafficking who actually received direct support from Talitha Kum members, is, in my view, particularly important, especially if we consider the difficulty in collecting and aggregating data in this field. And as you know, this is due to a variety of factors, such as the difficulty to identify the victims, the illegal and hidden nature of this activity, the fact that it often goes underreported or not reported. Often victims might also be irregular migrants, so they might be really pushed into this invisibility and marginalization. And so eventually taking them out, and as it was stated, healing their wounds is particularly important and complex at times. This is also more important in my view, and also more evident if we consider that the United States Department of State, in its 2024 report, because as you know, they have not yet published a report as they used to do for 2025. So the last available that we have is actually the one for 2024. But what they did was actually to collate data from the many governments from all over the world that they somehow assess with their report. And they actually stated that governments from all over the world had identified 133,948 victims. 133,948. Which is, if you compare it also with the data that you are providing, not so much of a big datum if we consider, the hard power and strength somehow that we should provide and recognize that is in the hands of states. And if we consider instead how a network of sisters and nuns from all over the world somehow is able to do very much, notwithstanding the lack of such help and support and such structure, which might belong to states. This datum, the one of the United States Department of State report, is, however, of little use as well, because it is not contextualized and it is not disaggregated by country or region, for instance. In this respect, I would like to make a comparison with the report provided by Talitha Kum, because I see in your report eventually this effort to disaggregate data by region, which is in my view very much welcome, because it helps a lot to see how victims in a way or another were helped and supported in the different areas, as well as also the activities, advocacy or prevention and other activities that were conducted globally and then also differently in the specific regions. In this respect, it is also important to note that the activities of Talitha Kum reached 9,309 even more people in 2024. So it's close to 1 million. You're close to 1 million people who somehow were reached by your activities, which is, again, if you look at that, a staggering datum. If you compare it to the lack of data in this respect by other organizations, as well as the limited data that are available in this sector, and how eventually in other reports these are not even explained. As far as I am aware, actually, there's no other organization, so it's neither NGOs nor intergovernmental organizations, governments, or networks that have so far achieved similar results. And so obviously I would like to praise you for this. If the network obviously would like to push it even further, what I would suggest is to promote actually this work that has been done so far by also providing in the future more information on the methodology. For instance, including a section on the methodology for the collection of data, given that these and also the techniques used, given that this has been throughout the years one of the main critique that has been formulated to many organizations, whether it is the US Department of State and its trafficking report, or also the UNODC, the ILO, and many others that have attempted to provide both data and estimates in this field. They have all been criticized for the lack of a specific identification in a section of what it is the methodology and how is it that the data were collated and provided. Third issue. The report is, in my view, beautifully structured around some selected focus areas in which each regional network contributed with their work in the field. These are the areas: networking for solidarity and change, and here we have a focus on Africa; protecting survivors and offering shelter, and here we see a focus on Europe; accompaniment, there's Oceania as an example; prevention of trafficking with Latin America and the Caribbean being examined; advocating for change, and here we have North America; strengthening collaboration and expanding impact, and here we see Asia; navigating conflicts with the Middle East, and then there's a final general focus, in my view, on empowering the youth, which is, I believe, very important. And so we will go back to the youth later on. But let's go back to the areas that have been selected and also the specific regions. The stories of the members of the network that are scattered worldwide and that are provided in each one of these sections are, in my view, very important. And they also provide important insights into the specificities of human trafficking in each one of these specific regions. As we will see also later, they could also provide good practices, but I will focus also on this issue of good practices later on, so that actually others, both within the network, but also outside of the network, given that the report, if publicly available, could also provide important information for other organizations in the nonprofit sector so that they could learn and benefit from your work. For what concerns in particular these specific areas, I see that in the last few years there has been a huge growth in terms of the areas that are also covered. And here I would like to go back again to the call to action, which, as we said, was released in 2021. Because at that time, basically, there were four main elements that have been taken into consideration. And they all actually were centered around the protection of victims. The main objectives of the call were actually to care for victims of human trafficking and exploitation, to heal physical, psychological, and spiritual wounds, to empower victims and survivors, as well as individuals at risk, by amplifying their voices, and to restore human dignity by promoting access to justice. In addition to these four main axes of work, which were mostly in the area of protection, the call to action also included four key areas of engagement. The first one was ensuring access to justice and long-term state-supported psychosocial and health assistance, as well as work and residence permits for victims in destination countries. The second one was empowering women and girls, as well as their families and communities. The third was supporting safe and legal migration pathways, including in cases of forced displacement. And the fourth was promoting an economy of care and solidarity.
One moment. Professor, I'm very, very sorry. We're a bit over time. Would you be able to wrap up?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry for taking too much of the time at our disposal. So in this respect, I actually wanted to say that it's important, in my view, that the network has been working in other areas as well. It would also be important to provide clear guidance on the areas that have been selected for work, and to guarantee that there is a bottom-up but also top-down process, both, so that somehow there remains unity in terms of what it is that the network is conducting and what are the main priorities globally. There's an issue also that I noticed in terms of best practices. I see that there are best practices identified in different areas, and I congratulate with all those who provided those best practices. It would be good, in my view, here to provide more information, because best practices obviously are important as far as they can be shared. And so providing more and more information that determines that these can be shared and applied also by others within the network and also outside of the network. Finally, some remarks on the way forward. I see here that there's a section on highlights, which is also very important. The Working in Dignity app that I also downloaded is wonderful. It's very important. And so it provides a huge, in my view, opening in terms also of the youth and it somehow unites the network with the youth. The leadership program, the youth ambassador projects, these are all, in my view, very important. These initiatives, in my view, should be scaled up and promoted, not only internally, but also externally to the network. For instance, the report mentions that there's a 25 increase in interfaith initiatives. That is fundamental in my view, because it might be also a wonderful way to, in a way or another, eliminate conflicts or somehow provide ways through which conflicts might be solved. There's not so much then that I found in terms of good practices on interfaith initiatives, and I would have loved instead to read about those initiatives, because these are, in my view, fundamental. The identification of priority partners, in my view, could also be very important. I see an attention towards schools, academic institutions. These are fundamental because they provide access to the youth. And I believe that the network really needs to focus and already does it in a wonderful way on the youth, because these are the future and they are to be part of this global change. But I would also suggest to focus on others, trade unions, for instance, business organizations, so that somehow they may also be part of this global change. In my view, Talitha Kum is a perfect example of a global network. It's global and local. That's the term, global. That's what it means at the same time. Following the gospel call to stand with the dispossessed, poor, and victimized, it's actually what keeps all the members united. Still walking united on this path, while acknowledging that there's great diversity within the network is important. And so here I would like to focus again on the top-down and bottom-up approach that needs to stay and to remain, so that eventually the two ways can complement each other. I think that there's great dedication, and this is visible in the report by all the sisters, and I would like to congratulate with you all, with Sister Abby first of all, with all the other sisters who contributed to the report. Certainly what comes out from the report is that there's a light at the end of the tunnel for many victims, for thousands of victims of human trafficking, but also for many other people who are in these communities and who could also be marginalized or victimized in the near future. And so your work is also very much important in that respect. So congratulations to you all for this important piece of work, and may God help you to continue to provide relief to the vulnerable and dispossessed worldwide. Thank you very much.
Thank you too, Professor. And I've also made note of some of your suggestions. Thank you for bringing out the strengths of the report, but also ways that Talitha Kum will be able to improve in the future. This is always very, very helpful. We now move on to hearing from specific members of Talitha Kum. We'll hear from Gracie next, the one of the SADA recipients for 2024, and then we'll hear from Claudia in Peru, one of our youth leaders joining us. So Gracie, over to you for 5 minutes.
Thank you, sister. Can you hear me?
Yes.
A very good evening to each one of you. And first and foremost, I want to thank Sister Abby for giving me this opportunity. I'm glad to be here with you all on this online platform. I will just focus a brief and to the point so that I save time and give for others. So first and foremost, I want to say that my mission is not just one of service, but of accompaniment, empowerment, and hope. For me, Talitha Kum, it has so much stuck in my mind. Talitha Kum means little girl get up. And when I'm dealing with the survivors of human trafficking or accompanying them, I feel always and I pray to God that to help me to put them back to their place where they have been displaced. And as I accompany the victims of the human trafficking, first, when we do the rescue and the safety, so first and foremost, I ensure that they are safe. They have a safe shelter and the medical care. Also provide them trauma informed care. and protect their identity and safety, especially with regard to the trafficker retaliation. I just want to give you quote one case over here because which is very very important. I feel as we were dealing with one of the case, the victim of the human trafficking, the minor child who was kept in the safe shelter home, and some of the visitors came to visit them, in the shelter home, and the images of the child was put on the Facebook. So for me it is very important how we need to keep the safe and confidentiality of every human being, be it victim or be it a normal child. So I assure that when I work with the victims, I see that all that is taken care of. The second approach, which I deal with, psychosocial support. That is like offering counseling and accompanying the victim of human trafficking. Secondly, like to be when the any of government or the police, especially when there is a case of rape case, or children are found, maybe like I had a case of three children who wanted to commit suicide because there were many other things which were linked. Another case which I had, a victim of human trafficking, a girl 20 years old who was like no from Noida, New Delhi, was trafficked to Bombay, and from Bombay she was brought to Goa. So how she was trafficked from one place to another place, just with the with the excuse of giving human resource development good job, and then she was raped for 7 times and was thrown on the beach. She was drugged and thrown down on the beach by these seven rapers. And then what happened? Then the immediately police called me. And then the process of legal intervention, helping the girl, accompanying her, being not as just as a sister, but as a friend, and listening to her, being with her. So all this counts, and counseling her. Even I know it was a very difficult for me. It was a challenging because the girl was not ready to reveal to me what has happened. I know it has been a big trauma. So I gave my moral support to her, and that's how she gained confidence. Yes, there is somebody. And then that trust was built, and the relationship through constant accompaniment. And then it was a very successful, uh, uh, the repatriation. And now she has been a agent of change. She is helping others, and we are in contact with each other. So this also helps. I accompany them in the survivors agency and the decision making in the recovery. Because what happened? Another case which I had, a minor child who was raped by her own uncle, and it was brought to us in our custody, and then constantly like changing the statement 164. So the child was frightened because that uncle may do something. So in this case, we assure, though she is a minor child, but respecting is very, very important. So we created such a child-friendly atmosphere, and seen that the child is helped to come out from this trauma. But with lot of process of legal intervention, bringing the child and making her comfortable, and building up that child friendly atmosphere, etc. With
Thank
regard to
you
legal
so,
assistance
so
and
much, sister. Thank you so, so much. We need to move on. I'm really sorry.
Mhm.
But
Yes,
thank you for
sister.
the words, and you're welcome behind you. And now we're going to go to Claudia, one of our youth ambassadors. Welcome, Claudia. You have 5 minutes, and I hope some of you may have some questions and to ask in our question and answer period. We hope to have a few minutes left for that. So please start inserting your questions. Thank you. Claudia, over to you.
Thank you very much, sister, and hello, dear Talitha Kum family and community. Please accept my kind greetings full of hope and sacrifice. My name is Claudia Ponte, and I'm a teacher by profession. I'm currently part of the Kawasaki Peru network. When they asked me to give a testimonial of my work as a volunteer during the last years, I felt an amazing emotion that is hard to put into words. Now, looking back and remembering this journey throughout 2024, I feel a profound sense of gratitude for every experience I lived and everyone I met on this path through the Andes region of Peru. As a volunteer youth leader of Talitha Kum, I received virtual training for young leaders, which allowed me to present a project proposal as well as obtain financial support to actually execute the project plans. Thanks to this, I was given the opportunity to educate, listen, and assist in the prevention of human trafficking with adults, adolescents, and children from different communities within Peru. I will tell you that it was not just an educational endeavor, but it was a human process that transformed realities and also transformed me. We visited communities where vulnerability was not only financially based, but also emotional. In each workshop and meeting, we saw how knowledge became a tool for protection, how information generated awareness, and how trust opened doors to dialogue on an issue as painful and silenced as human trafficking. I especially remember the face of a teenager in Andahuaylas. As soon as she saw me arrive in the city, she asked me to take her to work with me. Later, after a workshop, she said to me, "Now I know what happened to my cousin. It wasn't her fault." That single testimony made me realize the impact of our work is not shown only in numbers, but in the impact in lives, in the enlightened minds, and in silence broken. I was also moved by seeing how the adults, many of them fathers and mothers, took an active role in protecting their sons and daughters. They made a committed effort to share what they had learned with their neighbors. Many only spoke Quechua and worked in the fields. It is a limitation, the language, but we could use a translator. However, we were able to overcome this small obstacle through the assistance of different supporters in each region from Ayacucho to Apurimac. I discovered the power of solidarity and the importance of our union. Talitha Kum taught me that being young is not an obstacle, but rather an advantage. The struggle against trafficking is not just in the hands of authorities, but actually in ours. When we educate, we prevent. When we organize, we protect. Today, as I look back on this chapter of my work, I do so not with awareness, but with greater conviction. There is still much to be done. But through the planting of hope, I am certain that a seed will sprout. Thanks to each and every one of you that greeted us with kindness, to my companions in the mission, to the entire network that made this transformative experience possible. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your words. And we are so happy that you are also a part of Talitha Kum and for all of the other members of youth in our Youth Ambassador program. So thank you for being their voice today. Unfortunately, Pauline is not able to be with us. Pauline is a survivor of gender-based violence who runs a shelter now in Kenya and under the support also of Talitha Kum, but she's not able to join us because of connection problems. So instead, we're going to show a video showing the project that she's founded. Thank you so much.
My name is Pauline Akinyi Juma, the Executive Director, Founder, Rebirth of a Queen Organization. Rebirth of a Queen Organization is a community-based organization that was founded in 2019 in Kibera slums, Nairobi. We are existing to create a safe space for survivors to be empowered and holistically supported in Kenya. We are a community-based organization that supports survivors of sexual violence and human trafficking through storytelling, education, skills training, and sheltering them. Rebirth of a Queen was founded from a story of me going through the trauma of sexual violence and domestic violence as a teenager, and the gap was in creating spaces for survivors to heal. And that is why I dedicated Rebirth of a Queen to create spaces for survivors to be themselves, to take their daring steps towards healing. For the last 5 years, Rebirth of a Queen has been running a shelter that has supported 205 girls and young women through the process. We currently have 22 girls in the shelter, 17 of them are in school, in high school and primary school. We are currently running a skills training center for young people in the community to bridge the gap of empowerment for survivors and the vulnerable young people in the community. The Skills Training Center has leather training, we have fashion and design, we have IT, we have graphics and design, and we have paper craft and storytelling. The reason why we are having all this training is to support young people or survivors in the community gain skills that are going to support them to be job ready. And since 2023, we've trained 368 young people through leather, through storytelling, through IT, through graphics and branding, and we are committing as an organization to support young people to transition into empowerment and to transition into job opportunities and to transition into entrepreneurship. So far, we've managed to support about 7 young people who are working with tour companies as photographers, and this is just one of the impact that we are creating in the community. Apart from sheltering and ensuring survivors have a space, we also are dedicated to support more young people get skills that are going to support them get job opportunities. And as an organization, even as we think of expanding beyond what we are doing right now and introducing barista and pastry courses, cosmetology courses, the main purpose is to ensure young people have a job, is to ensure the vulnerable young people in the community are able to speak for themselves, they're able to understand their job, their labor rights in the country, they're able to understand how violence transitions from just physical to economical, they're able to understand their bodies more. So we do more than just skills training. We have a mentorship program for them. We have a mentorship program even for those who are doing photography to be able to tell the story, their own stories from a point of power. Thank you so much.
And for those of us who have now seen this beautiful, beautiful video, I'd just like to remind us that Rebirth of the Queen was the first project offered on the Talitha Kum Walking in Dignity app that received the quota of footsteps. And so those of us who contributed our footsteps on that app, this is one of the projects that received funding from our footsteps. So we're able to see the concrete impact of that app. We only have time for probably one question, one or two short questions before we finish up. I haven't seen any in the chat. If anyone has a question, if you could raise your hand very quickly, and I'll see if we can entertain one or two questions. Let's see. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions for this morning. So we're going to head then toward the wrapping up of this time together. I'd like to remind you, though, ahead of time that as we have been hearing, the report will be available by tomorrow. And we do hope that you use it as an occasion to even share. It looks like Abby would like to say something.
No, yeah, sorry, Bernadette. I just to clarify on that, the report will be launched. Actually, it's already up on our website. It will only be available in English for now, and hopefully by September we will have a really a full languages by September. But anyway, that is already up on our website, and you will have it to once we finish. Pauline is here. I'm sorry, Pauline. You just missed the video. Pauline Juma is here just to acknowledge her presence. Just in case you have a question directly to Pauline, Sister Bernadette.
Sure. Thank you so much, Pauline. We enjoyed your video.
Thank you so much, and I am so sorry. I do not know what's the problem with my network last minute, and then I am on the road and there was a protest.
Pauline, you are always
congratulations, Pauline.
Amazing. Really amazing.
Congratulations, Pauline.
Grazie.
Rising above the situation.
Exactly.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you. Okay. Okay. That's just to clarify on that.
Sana.
Okay. So as we invite all of you, the first homework everyone has, there's always homework when there's a woman religious involved. So the first homework we have is to go find the report online and share it on our social media networks. Okay. This is a wonderful opportunity. So we head toward the closing of our presentation of the 2024 edition of Talitha Kum's annual report. And so I'd like to invite Sister Mary John, Associate Executive Secretary of the International Union of Superiors General, who will provide our closing remarks. Thank you so much, Sister Mary John.
Thank you, Sister Bernadette. And good evening, friends. Good afternoon, good morning, I don't know in whatever order. I often find myself giving the closing words, Sister Bernadette. Yeah, as you have already heard from various speakers and presenters, how praiseworthy this report is. I wish to acknowledge gratefully the hands, the minds, and the hearts that worked meticulously behind this grand success. The Talitha Kum 2024 report is not just a narrative of facts, events, or experiences, but it is motivating, inspiring, and engaging. The report bears testimony to the strength and capabilities of women, spearheaded by religious sisters, to safeguard the vulnerable and to be heralds of hope. We listened to the Professor Scarpa's thorough review of the report as she brought out the salient features of this work. The report in 19 sections, detailed and comprehensive, it covers significant activities, experiences, and encounters globally of Talitha Kum. I noticed that the layout is very attractive, very colorful, and very inviting. The content substantial. Yeah, but over and above, this report is the joint effort of many hands, networks, groups, and organizations with hard work and determination. Behind these numbers, as Sister Abby said, are stories to tell. I wish to acknowledge Sister Abby's unassuming, quiet, but effective leadership, her hours of selfless giving as the international coordinator of Talitha Kum. Thank you, Sister Abby, and thank you, Talitha Kum office staff, especially those located in OISG building here, as I see their faces more often than those of others. Marion and Emma, Francesca, Carmen, Adina, and so many other faces that I see on a daily basis here. I've seen how much they worked and put their efforts together to bring this report. Thank you also the coordinators, the youth ambassadors, and all who have contributed to this report by way of content or technology or by pictures, stories, etc. Thank you so much for everything. And as we listened in the morning, in the beginning of this launch of the report, this is Sister Pat's vision that brought Talitha Kum to this visibility and recognition that it has today. I wish Talitha Kum Network many blessings as it launches concerted action on preventing the heinous crime of human trafficking. Many thanks to each and every one of you, and especially to Sister Bernadette for navigating us through the agenda so skillfully with care and also managing the time so well. Thank you very much, Sister Bernadette. And God bless all of you. Many thanks to each and everyone. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Sister Mary John. And now we hope all of you go and read the report, share it. Like I said, it is graphically a delight, and it truly does help put faces also to the sisters and our collaborators behind Talitha Kum. And you'll find some additional features this year. You got to go and look at the report to find out what they are. Because as Talitha Kum goes into new areas, this is also reflected in the annual report. As you read it, as Sister Mary John said, know that an entire team worked on it, and you can find out who they are in part 19. Make sure you read the credits, please. Now, Talitha Kum's work goes on. We know that. As long as there are people suffering from exploitation, violence, and human trafficking, members of Talitha Kum want to be there too. And so with this report, we hope that others will be inspired to join us. Now, as always, in order to wrap up our time together, we have asked Sister Adina to provide a closing prayer. And please, the chat is still open. I know many of you put words of thanksgiving for Sister Pat. Once we've concluded with the closing prayer, if any of you would like to say short thank yous to Sister Pat, we'll open it up for that and then close. But first, our closing prayer. Over to you, Adina.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. For some reason. Okay. Thank you. Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. We begin our prayer in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Loving God, we come before you at the end of this meeting with grateful hearts. Thank you for the work accomplished by Talitha Kum Networks over the last year, for the stories shared, and for the tireless commitment of our sisters and their colleagues who continue to walk with and for survivors of human trafficking. You have called us and gave us the grace to raise our voices for justice, to lift our hands in service, and to open our hearts in compassion. Bless the networks, communities, and each person who works for the survivors' protection and restoration, and grant us the courage to continue to serve you through them, the wisdom to discern the path ahead, and the strength to work together across borders, cultures, and beliefs. May we never forget that each small action sown in love can become a seed of transformation in our world. Keep us close to each other and to you. As we go forth, may your Spirit guide us, so that in all we do, we may continue to be a voice that says, Talitha Kum, little girl, I say to you, arise. Amen.
Amen.
Thank
And
you.
we'll now be able to receive the link in the chat. So if any of you would like a direct link to the annual report, you'll find that now in the chat. And we'll just end very, very informally. Please, all of you who would like to express your gratitude to Sister Pat, just, very informally, we can close our moment together, okay?
Thank you. I would really like to thank you, Sister Pat, for everything, for your support, your clear vision, and you help us with the discernment, and you give us a push, and always your talk are inspiring, and I will dearly miss you. Thank you.
Yes, I would like to show my gratitude to Sister Pat. She is always have a word of inspiration. And thank you very much for being with us. And then I appreciate that you make Talitha Kum to rise up also. And thank you very much. Bless you. God bless you and then make you have a good health. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Pat. Thank you for your support, for your unconditional support to Talitha Kum. Thank you for your love, your big love towards the religious life. And thank you for all these years in UISG, this international union in which you could truly leave a mark. Thank you. God bless you. And I hope that God can accompany you in whatever you will do in the future.
Well, Sister Pat,
I am Sister Mary, the net of. I would like to thank Sister Pat because she has been the origin of our hope in Middle East. She has accompanied us in the first 2 years, and she has encouraged us, and she has been with us. In Arabic, we say Tedan. So she has taken the burden of our situation and helped us to reach the objectives and targets we had to reach in the Middle East. And she has really tried to understand the culture of our different countries, and she has helped us a lot in developing the program Health of Hope. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Pat. I cannot say how inspiring you were with your religious life. Thank you very much. May God bless you. Thank you for the woman you are in the religious life. You are a prophet to us, for us women in the world. Thank you, Pat.
Andiamo adesso. E grazie per queste parole.
Let's go now. So thank you for this very kind words. Yes, for me, this has been a gift, a huge gift, the possibility of being here at UISG for these years. I will now go and support religious life in other ways, in other contexts for the future. I will be here in Rome, and I will also help several initiatives. So thank you very much, because without all of you, even our sisters and our collaborators wouldn't be able to achieve such great results. So thank you very much to each and all of you. This is the appeal we received by Pope Francis, all together on the synodal path. So thank you very much. I will now need to go to another meeting. So thank you very much. Huge hugs to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Pat.
Thank you so much, Sister
Thank you.
Pat. Thank you. Thank you for
you.
everything.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Anyway, thank you,
Absolutely.
sister.
Thanks,
I mean,
Abby.
like I said, the report is available now online, and tomorrow is our big day. Many of you are really mobilizing this campaign, and hopefully this is only not the last of our journey together, but of course we're just beginning as usual. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Sister Bernadette. You always did a good job in facilitation. Thank you so much, Professor Sylvia, and of course, Pauline, even though she was not able to join us fully, but her inspiration will give us really to keep going as we continue this journey. Okay? Together, we can end this human trafficking. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Sister
you.
Abby.
Au revoir.
Ciao,
Merci
ciao.
Bye-bye.
very much.
Bye. Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Gracias. Oh, it's good to see Aria. Aria is also on.
Yeah, nice to see you all. Thank you so much, Sister Pat and Sister Abby.
Kapunka, Kapunka. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Sister Adele, wow, you're here too. And Colleen, I saw. Yeah, see you in Indonesia. Sister Diana, thank you. Thank you, Sister Katerina. All of you, Iman, yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
friends. Concepcion, thank you. Ciao, ciao. Agnes, Pitija, where are you from? Agnes? Sicily, okay. Muchas gracias. Yeah, grazie mille. Grazie mille. Ok, ciao. Ciao, ciao, Francesca, tutti.
Bye, Stabby. Everyone, bye.
Bye, Diana.
Yes, nice meeting you. Bye.
Sister Gracie is gone, but she joined from India. Thank you so much, Sister Gracie. Carmen, muchas gracias. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, Marion. Thank you, my team, of course. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao, Stabby. You're looking great. You're looking great. Bye.
Thank you to the interpreters. Goodbye.
Goodbye.